Thanks so much, Joe. All right, so a couple of things we have going on here at Enerex and things we're attending. For all those on the phone who are attending TIPA's annual conference, we're very excited about that next week. After that, we'll be talking about this a little bit more at the end, but Enerex is working with a team called Mora and a couple of individuals in Missouri that are looking to bring choice to that state. I know all of the brokers and retail suppliers out there have always dreamed of opening up a new state and bringing choice to more customers in our industry. So very excited about that. Definitely attend. That's going to be a special webinar held on November 12th. And then we'll be taking a pause for the rest of the year for conferences, webinars, but we will absolutely project your voice a little bit more. Cool. Thank you, Joe. We'll be then having an annual users conference for our current customers. So please stay tuned for that. Joe, next slide, please. As you know, at Enerex here, our purpose, connecting people through technology to increase trust in retail energy markets. We're here today with our friends from Energy Professionals of Ohio because they are bringing trust to retail energy markets every day here in Ohio. So appreciate you guys living our purpose too. And this is the reason why we do these webinars, is to bring more of this information to the constituents of retail energy. You all know our product suite. Joe, next slide, please. You all know our product suite. We bring solutions to both retail electric brokers and retail electric suppliers. Sparkplug, our broker product, Propeller, our supplier product, and Exchange is the way that the entire industry should communicate via API. We have broker portals. We have we have Craft. Continue on. You can go all through the rest of this real fast, Joe. And we're bringing to you guys some new products this coming year. Keep skipping.
All right.
Here we are, right, at EPO. This is really what we wanted to get to. So I have with me Greg Beckert, president of EPO, and Kevin Schmidt, executive director of EPO as well. And we are going to talk a little bit about their backgrounds and kind of what brought them. So thanks for having us here today, gentlemen. Really do appreciate you guys.
And just really quick, we're on this camera here, right?
That camera there. That camera there. That's right. Don't talk to the laptop. I'm just looking at my slides. You guys all look that way because I get the questions, and then project your voice as loud as possible to the audience. One mic. We're a one mic team here. Next slide, Joe. So that's why you're here today. We are going to do a little bit of interviewing here and really learn more about why EPO has this annual event every year and other things that Energy Professionals of Ohio does for the state. All right, let's kick off some Q&A type of questions here. So I'll start with Greg. Greg, by the way, for the audience, Greg and I used to work with Constellation together back in the day, man. This guy's known me since I was 22 years old, so sorry about that, man.
He's got all the good dirt.
You got all the good dirt. You want to know dirt on me? There's this guy right here. Don't ask him, please don't. But working,
we didn't really want to do this, but Greg had some leverage.
Black and whites go a long way, man. Never delete those photos.
Oh God, I'll never live it down. So you know what? You worked with Constellation, one of the largest retailers out there, and then you started up this brokerage firm with Scioto. What led you to do that and to move that transition?
Well, it's one of those. So I even go back further from Constellation, go back to Enron. So it's always a part of the retail environment from its inception almost. And it was one of those, for me, it was just a kind of a personal, I don't want to say goal, but I knew that I could help customers navigate the choppy waters of deregulation. Power is a little bit more difficult for customers to kind of understand. And in my role, I've always been kind of that consultative, communicate, educate, empower. It's always kind of what I say to my clients. And it just fit well for me. In Ohio, back in 2008, 2009, when Constellation was part of Lehman Brothers, it was back by Lehman Brothers, right? Knees buckled, I was like, not only have I seen this movie, I've been in this movie.
Right, with the Enron experience.
Right,
so true, right.
So that's when Ohio Senate Bill 221, which was really the catalyst for getting us to where we are today, had come out. And looking at the analysis, I just knew there was an opportunity. And yeah, it was
the rest is history.
I had to grab it.
Yeah, because this was a long time ago. When did you start up Scioto? 2010?
2009. So 2009. 13 years. Yeah.
So cool, man. And again, for all of our other brokers on the phone too, there's so many good brokers out there, but that's what we need to bring to our customers, right? More choice. And so you're working for a large retailer, one choice. Brokers are bringing multiple choices, right? And different customers, different opportunities, right?
Yeah.
They need different things. And then you started up this organization, which this is kind of where it's like a turning point, right? There's tons of brokers out there that will bring those choice to customers, but then you took your time, right, to start up this organization. What led you to do that with Energy Professionals of Ohio?
Well, again, kind of going back to Constellation days, right? So you're part of a large organization, and you have so many different areas of support. Those being regulatory, and that was you don't realize until you're out of it how much those organizations contribute to keeping markets open. And it was one of those when I stepped out, went on my own. It was just myself, and you're on an island. And you're like, all right. How do we keep things moving forward? And then you realize there's so many more of us that are out there. We represent 60-70% of the market that's switching.
Right.
So, but we had no voice. So
at the state legislature.
At the state level, yeah.
Okay.
So it was actually a tax issue that had come up. And then that's when I reached out to Perry and Puck and Chris. Yeah. And the four of us got together and we were talking about the tax issue, but then we started kind of sharing our stories of how you dealing with this? What are you doing, with this supplier? Have you talked to this supplier? And it was just so obvious at that point. It's like, we really need to, yeah.
So interesting. And for all those on the phone, just real quick, the three gentlemen he just mentioned are three other very large brokers in Ohio. Muirfield, North Shore, and who did I miss? Oh, okay, Alternative Energy, right?
Yes.
So this is so banding together, right, led to this organization, which typically brokers don't really band together, right? They feel like they're competition. How did that work out for you? Competition versus not? I'm curious.
When we started out, everybody's holding their cards close to the vest, right? So there came a point where you had to just realize that, hey, we're in this together. We got, the more that we share and we're open and trust each other, the more we're going to accomplish. And it was really a unique experience to kind of go through that, to see everybody like, now none of us give a rat's patootie.
Right.
Yes, we're talking about what's happening. What are you dealing with, either with personnel or with your clients, So, but it takes a level of, trust. But once you get there, it's pretty amazing what you can do. So
Whitney was just off camera, so I'm just going to mention it. We're live streaming, buddy. So, hey, Whitney.
You want to be the halftime show?
Yeah, you want to be the halftime show, dude. Cheerleading, woo! Okay. Thanks, Whitney. Appreciate it. So really interesting. And I think that when it's so important for our market to understand that if the only way forward is by banding together, right? There's all of this wording and rhetoric from other attorney generals in other markets, and they're against choice, right? Especially for the residential type of customers.
Right.
So, by not banding together, we're kind of doing ourselves a disservice, right? And this great organization, that showcases that. And so then, right, doing the brokers, getting everybody lined up. And then what led to Kevin, right? How did Kevin come into all this? Let's introduce the man himself.
So this guy,
the guy he's the one on the Capitol floor. Yeah, right.
For every game, you got to have a game.
Yeah, right. So, sales guys don't do the trick when it comes to the Capitol. It's a little bit of a different skill set in selling.
I knew personally, if we're going to do this right, you got to have the right person in the seat from a regulatory standpoint.
Yes.
Ohio is extremely, I'm not to say litigious, but they're very, everything's handled at the state house, and things can change on a whim. And so we knew we had to have somebody that had a voice and was recognized at the state house.
Gotcha.
And Kevin and I, and Suzanne, my business partner, we worked together at the Ohio Manufacturing Association. So I reached out to Kevin and said, hey, we're trying something here. Why don't you come out with a group? Let's see what we can figure out to try to get this, gang of four together and actually make an organization.
Make an organization out of it. Right. Now, Kevin, what was your background before that? What were you? So you were working for the OMA, Association.
Right. I spent 10 years at the Ohio Manufacturers Association managing energy issues. I've spent over 20 years working around Ohio State House. And while I was at the OMA, Greg referenced before Senate Bill 221, which really kind of led to Ohio's been a choice state since 1999, but the markets really didn't function until after 221. That's when.
And what year was 221?
That was 2006 is when it passed.
Right when, so Chicago
2009 is when the markets started
working out, right? Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so at the OMA, I recognized that after getting the legislation passed, we needed to be active at the Public Utilities Commission. That's where all the rules would be developed. That's where all the case law would be developed. And so I organized at the OMA our litigation group, or the litigation group they still have, the OMA Energy Group. And that's how I really started cutting my teeth on energy policy here in Ohio. So about 10 years at the OMA, managed the energy issues. And then after I left the OMA and started working in an independent firm, Greg approached me and said, we need somebody with association background to help us get this group off the ground.
Right, to build an association, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
That's so cool. And so I'm curious, that's kind of how you guys met, but why not join up, right? There's other organizations out there like EPO, right? You got TIPA, and then there was ILEPA back in the day. ILEPA joined. There's other smaller, how do I put this, like energy, more efficiency type of people, right? And they have their little organizations in Texas.
Associations, there are retailers.
And so why EPO?
Well, I think for us in doing this, we were Ohio centric. That's where the group of us that had founded it, the majority of our portfolios that we had was Ohio. So we had a very strong interest in making sure that Ohio remained a free and fair market.
Right.
And, it wasn't not a knock against any other organization. Sure. We had to make sure, because everything changes here so fast in the state house, we had to make sure that we were really focused on what was going on in the state house.
Yeah.
And so I think, we weren't comfortable just saying, hey, I talked to David Weirs. So this is what we're thinking about doing, right?
David Weirs, right? Yeah.
ILEPA
Started this Illinois organization.
Right. And, got some feedback from him, and, he said, yeah, staying focused is key, right?
Ohio
it's worked well for us. So.
Yeah, Ohio is such a unique animal, right? I had the pleasure of living here in Upper Arlington for 3.5 years, working for AEP, and honestly, it felt a little bit like coming in as like an outsider, right? Because Ohio is a very unique state in that front, and then also because it's a swing state too. Do you feel like there's a lot of independent?
Right. It's not like all red or all blue. It goes its own way on a lot of issues.
Which means that it swings back and forth, on issues, and so if you're not in the word, right? Yeah.
Ohio's a very purple state, when it comes to our politics.
Purple state.
And with two very large distribution utilities being headquartered here in the state,
right?
AEP and First Energy, they've had a very active presence over at Ohio State House. And so when markets were working and customers stayed on their service, they loved it. And when markets were working for us and customers started choice, they were very active at the State House. So while markets for customers started working around 2009, the distribution utilities have been very active at Ohio State House and trying to, I would say, choke off choice. And we've been battling that back along with RISA and some other organizations ever since. So to Greg's point, Ohio is very unique because I would say that the retail market hasn't settled down at the State House. We routinely see legislative proposals that would be harmful to customer choice. And so having an active presence at the State House and the Public Utilities Commission is, I would say, one of the core tenets of the group.
That's so cool, right? And I think that's a good lesson for other national organizations too, is that we have to have a voice in each one of these states uniquely. Yeah. And if not, that's where a state can go away, right? So having those market experts and
If you look at the downside of where if you give up that ground and you don't show up, you look at the share of the bill that choice can actually impact. Right, and how has that gone over in Ohio over time, right? It's sort of, like you said, not necessarily eliminating choice, but sort of putting more and more of the energy spend back into the pocket of the regulated entity or monopoly entity, right? That's been a trend in Ohio in general since choice. Is how do we take back? Can we take another cent off of this bill and put it back on our side of the bill where it's not open to choice? So I think it's a great testament to how you guys have fought to defend that, but
it's a battle.
The threat that's out there.
Oh yeah,
so it's real.
It's not out. I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about today in the regulatory panel, but there's stuff that's up there right now that again, getting rid of the ESP, which is the current structure that we have,
Mhm.
migrating to something different to kind of take some power away from the utilities and just basically in their ability to throw out just any type of rate increase.
Right.
This is this is how they secure the people that are not on choice, right? The
That's
power
right.
ESP.
Yes.
Just for the audience who doesn't know.
Yes.
Ohio.
Yeah.
I'll always point that out, right? Because we're just an acronym.
We
heavy,
love
right?
acronyms.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
Yes.
you know, again, it is a constant battle. Each state, right? And you guys are going to be talking about Missouri. And what's going on there.
Yeah,
It's gonna be
absolutely.
interesting. I mean, every state is unique.
Yeah.
How they operate and what does it take to get things to happen. I mean,
Andy's-
everything happens behind closed doors.
Of course it does, right? Yeah.
So, and this guy is, I mean, he stands out in a crowd.
You want to stand up for everybody and show them how big you are? No, he makes me look like a really tiny animal. So yeah.
But it goes a long way, right?
It's
So
good.
he gets in the doors, and that's what it's all about, making sure that we have
Walk softly
conversations.
and carry a big stick. It's been said.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
No, but I mean, even still, if it's like the channel managers, right, at the suppliers who are reaching out to their brokers and having relationships and taking them out to lunch, et cetera. It's the same thing that you're doing, right, at the State House.
That's right.
Building relationships, right, and making sure your voice is heard. So important for yeah, please.
Well, and Ohio has term limits for our legislators. So every 2 years when we have an election, we have roughly about a third of the legislature turn over. So it's a constant battle to keep the education game, make sure that these new legislators who are coming in understand the benefits that choice brings to their constituents and the money that is being saved because of competition and choice.
Who's
And
telling them the story?
Right.
If we're not telling the story, somebody else is going to narrate it for us.
And at the end of the day, it's likely going to be the people that get these people elected, which is going to be residential, right?
That's right.
Right? The mass market customers, which have the biggest voice when it comes to the people getting elected,
They vote.
right? They
Yeah.
vote, right? And businesses are the ones that also, benefit most from choice at the end of the day. And it's so important for them to have a voice and get involved. I'm curious, tell me a little bit more about what people get out of being a member of EPO, right? EPO membership is important. That's how you guys do, right? These events, I'm sure, cover themselves with sponsorship, but it's not like that's where you're making all your money. It's the membership that's getting behind it.
Mostly,
right?
it's not about making money, right? It's about impact. How can you maximize the impact of that voice?
Yeah. So like any, so we're a nonprofit organization, right?
Right.
Volunteer based.
Right.
Boards, volunteers. And so, it's for us to be effective, we have to have folks that are willing to be active and get out there, have conversations, talk to the legislator, make our clients aware of what's happening. So, there's that saying that you get out of it what you put into it. And
Yes.
That's exactly what the EPO is, you can be a part of it, but what you get out of it is what you're willing to put into it. So, and it's not something you can be passive, but you're not getting a lot out of it. You're not going to move the needle.
So
So
true.
we look for the folks, not that we look for the folks, but those that are willing to help us out and carry that stick,
Torch, yeah.
have conversations and making sure that things, again, remain free and fair.
Got you. So tell me a little bit, so when you're recruiting new members and members come into the organization, what do they get out of being a member of EPO?
Well, I think one, we talked about what brought us together at the get-go, which is, again, a network.
Yeah.
Peers that you can relate to, either in the industry, also as business owners, small business owners. There's issues that we deal with outside of just the energy market, right? Because we're in a business
Community.
So exactly. So you have this sense of community that there's a trusted group of people that you can have conversations with and say, hey, have you seen this issue before?
Right.
How did you solve it? How did you deal with it? That's hard to get. So that's probably one of the bigger things outside of dealing with the State House.
Are you guys having monthly membership meetings or?
We do. Traditionally, we've been doing quarterly.
Quarterly.
COVID
right.
kind of threw that, a little bit of a curveball. Yeah, which is good though, because we started doing more of like what you guys are doing, right?
Yeah, so getting on the camera.
Yeah, it's not a set schedule that we have, but we try to do the first couple quarters. We do more series like this, guests coming in, conversations that we're having with some key people. In the summertime, we have a great event up at Putin Bay, which is up at the lake.
That's a good
more of a
networking,
social.
It's a heavy social.
Yeah, we need that. a
There are no
little bit.
beers at that event, right?
No such thing. No such thing. It might be a beer sponsored.
We
for
put
that
together
event.
a business meeting out there too.
Yes.
There's some
It's a
wine.
write-off, yeah.
That's
It's a chat, bonafide.
Yes.
the summer conference.
And then we have this event.
this annual event, and it's so exciting.
As a member, if I had an issue with a customer, is there a sounding board? Is that sort of another kind of aspect? Because I imagine, particularly around large customers, they face unique sort of market dynamics that maybe your garden variety small com customer isn't needing to say, hey, I have this unique issue.
Well, that's where this guy comes in handy.
I routinely field questions from members about, hey, I'm looking at this new contract. Does this comply with Ohio's terms and conditions requirements? I'm having trouble, with the utility here, or, I have a question about this new supplier that's come in. Have you heard about them from other members? So, that networking and sounding board's absolutely there. We'll help out as we can, members with regulatory issues. In the past, of course, last year was a bit of a crazy year, but we've done a State House Day. We'll bring our members into Columbus, and we'll march them into legislators' offices, just, to help remind people exactly how much choice helps customers.
Absolutely, yeah. The membership support has to be so important. Do you feel like any competition though, when I was referring to like raising money and revenue, right? It's because the other people are doing campaign contributions and right, that's how you get that voice in that State House. And do you feel like you're ever kind of operating with a short, right? Like a short
David versus Goliath.
Thank you.
I mean, let's be honest.
All market
we're the small guys,
dynamics
right?
Yeah.
Right.
But we've always said, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So we're
That's
at
right.
least at the table, right? And,
Yes.
we might be, as my partner says, we're in the baby chair. Right?
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
little,
Yeah.
small, but
In the
it
corner.
works. Yeah, exactly. But we're
In the
at the table.
It's so important.
Yeah.
And so the more voices that band together, and you
That's
think
right.
that, right, that's really, the more voices that come around together, the bigger the voice will be, right?
Well, that's right. I mean, we're never going to be able to compete with regulated utilities PACT
Right.
contributions, their contributions to legislators' campaigns, but we have more voices when the brokers and suppliers band together and engage their customers. We can overwhelm them, and I'd like to remind everybody who won that battle between David and Goliath.
Yeah, that's right. When you're on the right side of the story,
That's right.
right? Is it really a money game? You've got the positive message.
That's right.
I almost say the truth on your side. Obviously, there's different opinions about how markets should go. But when you're on the right side of the story, I think you've got a lot.
That's right. We have thousands and thousands of voices behind us. We just have to harness them.
Yeah,
That's
we
what
gotta
we
band
do.
them together. Speaking about one of those voices, our dear friend Mark Rice on the phone. Hey, Mark, thanks for chiming in here.
Mr. Rice.
He gave it a little OH.
IO.
Yeah, that's right. All right, that's what he did in the chat. So, curious question from the audience. So, what are the actual steps that the broker community can take to help promote choice in Ohio and in other states? What do you guys feel like? You talk about Ohio, and I'll then add some.
Let me, since you guys may not say it, join EPO, right?
Yes.
I don't want to.
No, you don't have to say it.
Yes.
You
Come
got
be a
you.
part of the story. And I think part of why we're doing this, and I'll hand it back to you guys to respond to that, what steps, like what are some practical steps? But I think the first time I came to an EPO event, I was not expecting this level of game. You guys really have a professional event, great content. It's not like the same three guys on the panel every year, basically talking to the same talking points. It's very dynamic year to year, very high level ranking on the regulatory side, PUC. Officials, had several chairs over the years, in person. Obviously, that's sometimes a revolving door at the PUC. That so it's
we've
hard
had
to
many come. Yeah, every year it's a different
right. Hey, good opportunity to have a presence. But I just, it's not just a bunch of salespeople throwing back beers. You guys, you really have solid content. I always learn something about where the Ohio market is. I leave feeling very informed to have conversations with our customers who are in the Ohio market. So to me, it's been a great resource of just plugging in to the Ohio market. So I'll just say personally, if you haven't been to the EPO, especially the annual conference,
This right now today, yeah.
if you came to one event, come to this event, see the level of content that's put on, and how open and friendly people are. And you're missing out if you're not. So I would say that's number one. I'll just say it my own thing. So now that I've done the shameless promotion, you don't have to.
I like that.
What are
Yeah.
some of the practical,
Right.
what are some of the practical ways people can get
Involved?
in Ohio?
Well, I mean, yes, joining the EPO, that's going to be probably most impactful, because you're going to see how we do it, which I think is the right way. This guy leads the pack. he's educated me quite a bit.
But-
It's been eye-opening as to how you have to try to move that needle, what you need to do at the state house.
Yeah.
The political.
It's an animal.
It is, yeah.
And it takes a lot of work.
It does. It takes a lot of work. And, as I like to point out to Greg and Huck, Harry, and others on the board and members, I work for the industry. I don't work in the industry.
Right.
Markets are dynamic and evolving by nature. That's what we want them to do.
Yeah.
I don't know what needs to be done to improve the marketplace unless somebody tells me.
Right.
And unless you tell me and or your local legislator, we won't be able to improve the market in Ohio. There are regulations in place right now that are probably stifling innovation. I don't know what those are. I don't know what new products we could be bringing to Ohio unless you tell me. And so I think a real practical thing is, again, join the EPO. So
Join the EPO, yeah.
We can all learn and grow together, but get to know your legislator, get to know your local legislator.
Get in the game.
Get in
Get off
the
the
game.
bench. Get in the
Yes.
game,
That's right.
Participate.
It's so important, and so and when I was talking to the folks at this Missouri conference that we're having in 2 weeks, and we were trying to brainstorm some ideas on like how, right, to answer Mark's question, like how do you get involved and how do you have that voice? And so one is, right, dollars, right? You have to support with money because these, whatever it is, campaign contributions, funding, et cetera, right? We'll talk about that in a second. But the other main important thing is to have your customers, right, reach out to the legislators. And, I've seen, and we'll be talking about this in 2 weeks too, but I've seen these programs, platforms where it's a templated email. It talks about choice. You can make it super easy for the customer and you just say, customer, come in, put your name, register, send off the email, right? Is that something that you guys have done in the past, campaigns like that?
Yep.
When a bill comes up, right? And
Yeah.
so important to be a member of EPO to know about those things. And that's how you really can drive, right? So if you're a broker that can support with money and a supplier that can support with money, great. And if not, the
Or
minimum,
your customers, your
minimum
proxy for all
table
your
stakes,
entire book of
right?
business.
You don't want to
Yeah.
contribute, right? You don't want to contribute dollars, contribute a voice,
Yeah.
right? And if we don't, we might not have jobs, right?
Well,
That's
there
kind
is
of
no
a-
voice without dollars, right? This doesn't,
Yeah.
this
It
doesn't
doesn't take a
happen
lot of
for
dollars.
free.
Yeah.
Right, you don't have to be AP or, First Energy.
Yeah,
or,
exactly.
Right, and right, you don't have to be a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded company.
It does,
No,
it does make the needle move a little bit.
That's true, that's true, but you guys have story and you have customer voice, right? So I think that's an opportunity. I think Ohio, you could say it's a battleground state, right? And for lots of things, not just energy policy, but it's sort of like writing the story, which could be a template for other states, either in a good way about how markets thrived and succeeded and brought value to customers and choice and innovation, or about how, markets were crushed by monopolistic sort of entities. And I think, Ohio is sort of a state where that story is being written, right on the press.
Interesting times.
Yeah.
Interesting times, right?
Well, I guess I say that to say, even if you're not predominantly operating in Ohio as a broker or just a market participant, broker or supplier, consultant, the story that is being written in Ohio could become a playbook for other states, right?
Yeah.
Either for the good or for the detriment of
That's
markets,
right.
right? So this is where you need to get engaged.
Well, again, nothing happens in a vacuum, right, in this industry. So we're always watching, looking at other states, what's happening there, what can we learn from that, how's it going to transfer over to where we are.
Yeah.
And that's the same case again. You just got to be involved.
Got to get involved. Running an organization like this must be difficult, except, like any organization. And I find EPO just like a broker's business or Enerex with our vendor business, right? There's these challenges. And so what in EPO would you say is your largest roadblock to getting accomplishing your mission? Or maybe what you would wish you had more of, or what you wish you had less of?
You go first.
Well, I think I'd say idea generation. It's when we are, looking down the nozzle of a utility proposal to re-regulate Ohio, everybody wants to be engaged, right? And everybody understands the threat. When there's not that threat in front of us, understanding what we can be doing to improve markets is always something I have to go out there and do a lot of fishing with members on. So people are busy running their own business and keeping their customers happy, but helping me understand what we can continue to do to drive innovation in the marketplace is something that I have to work hard on.
Right, you almost have to. Sometimes it's almost like you have to solicit and pull, right? There is a lot of good voices in our industry that I do think step up and will be proactive, but there's so many voices that are not being proactive. And I guess that's kind of what you wish you had more of. You wish you had more people that were just, instead of you reaching out to them reaching out to you, having that conversation.
I'm here, I'm a phone call away.
That's right. And I'm sure you're willing to take it, right? Schedule a meeting and.
I bet there's
So
also
cool.
an aspect of, like you said, when there's an existential threat, everybody gets
On the
engaged.
phone.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, but when you have no relationship, right,
Yeah.
it would be like, only talking to a customer when they were in crisis, right?
Yeah.
So, where were you?
Yeah.
For the last.
The market's been
years?
running. Where were you?
Right,
Before the run,
exactly.
right?
So it's hard to sort of show up only when there's an emergency and then
Yeah.
ask for support.
That's right, and that's, I tell members this often, that, the first time we're talking to a legislator shouldn't be to go in and demand something.
Right.
These people work for you, these
Yeah.
regulators work for you, develop that relationship. They're just they're a local constituent as well, so develop that relationship, help them understand that you're an employer in the district, you're bringing savings to customers in their district, so that when something does happen and we do need something, we have that relationship in place, and it's not just demanding something from a stranger.
Why do you?
Build stake.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I've been 16 years in this industry, and I think I've met with, I don't know, 3 regulators, maybe.
Jason started when he was 3 years old.
I did, yeah. Still that young face, right? I'm actually 85, and just no one knows that I'm never age.
Yeah, we'll all be envious of you one day.
Yeah, one day. Well, like, I haven't even met with that many regulators, and I'm curious, like, why do you feel like members are scared of meeting with the why do you think that is? Why do you think natural, right, not constituents don't get engaged with their legislatures, right? Because they're the ones making the decisions and moving mountains.
Well, I think it's just your average person doesn't know how.
Doesn't know how to reach out.
Maybe it is something of a celebrity is probably a bit too strong of a word, but there's a separation. People need to understand that these regulators and they're just people too,
right? Just doing a job, just like we are,
doing their job, and again, they are only operating on the information that they have.
Right.
So if we don't provide them with the benefits in our story, well, it's not their fault for not acting on it, because we didn't tell them.
Right.
I think we saw even recently in the ERCOT market with the winter storm, you saw all the legislators get up on the stump.
Yeah.
So much misinformation, such a lack of understanding, yet they're all talking.
Yeah.
Well, we saw
They have to
a lot
say
of
something.
we saw, Greg, remind me here with the polar vortex. We saw it here in Ohio.
2018, yeah.
Everybody talked, all the legislators, all
Everyone
they
has an
wanted.
opinion, but they have a clue what they're talking about.
Well, right, all they wanted to talk about was how markets didn't work, and gas was shut off to power plants, and the only reliable source were coal piles and nuclear plants.
Right.
And they didn't understand market dynamics because people hadn't explained it to them beforehand.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of work.
Yeah, and playing off of that, so biggest learning lesson for me was you talk about term limits, right? Term limits always, there's a big benefit to that. But what I never really realized was, again, every 2 years, you've got somebody else new. Just remember, how did it feel when you came out of school, came to Constellation, you immersed yourself in this industry, and you're trying to take it on? These guys and gals have no idea what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
So I remember asking a couple of them, I said, how do you make a decision on how you're gonna go yes or no? What do you do?
Yeah.
Right.
And they're like, off the record, there's 2 or 3 guys within the legislature that know this. So we're gonna ask them.
I call them,
Which way do I go?
Subject matter experts.
Yeah,
right? And this is-
exactly.
Yeah.
So to combat that, you have to have these conversations. You have to be willing to talk with these guys, to educate them, take the time. It's an investment, just like anything else.
But that's so interesting because, we live this and breathe this every day. And it's like energy is so important to us. And I've heard brokers complain to me. They're like, man, I wish my customers cared more about energy. These people that we're speaking to, energy is one of what? 20 topics?
Oh, yeah, you got
20
some
health,
big
stuff, right?
yeah.
So
Education,
right,
healthcare, jobs.
you mentioned when I came into gambling, right? Oh, in Ohio, of course,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Bring that to Texas, by the way, please. Jason Beck has a personal interest. No. But no, when I came into Constellation and kind of got involved, you're right. I got so immersed, and it was like downloading all this information, and these people on term limits, they're doing that 20x, right?
Yeah.
On all these different
Well,
topics.
they're
Wow.
the ones who vote on legislation that directly affects the industry.
Absolutely.
I think it was 2 years ago in Ohio's last General Assembly, we had a chair in the Senate of the Public Utilities Committee, who was a banker, had zero experience in the energy industry. And in the House, the chairman managed a print shop.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so,
Legislature.
you know, they have zero background, and yet they're leading the committee that deals with these issues.
Yeah.
So I feel like a bit of a broken record, but
Hi,
if
Whitney.
we're not telling them our story,
Right.
they don't know it. They
They're
don't.
making it up or getting it out of somebody else.
Yeah.
That's right.
somebody else's
That's right.
narrative.
Yeah.
It's amazing. To transition slightly, I'm curious. So like, let's talk about this annual event a little bit and what people are going to get out of it today. First off, how much time and effort goes into planning an event like this? Like, I knew that was
It's a
going to be a
wedding
funny
every year.
question.
Wow.
This one helps.
Yeah. By the way, everybody, we need some female awesome voices on this. Whitney, say hi to the audience for us. Yeah, there,
Right
that
there.
one, that little camera over there.
Yeah.
Can I keep walking back?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. It's okay. Don't
That's
worry
what
about
said
it.
you should go.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
I thought it was.
See, you didn't even know. You are the
It's okay.
halftime.
You are that.
That's a microphone.
So Whitney helps a lot with this
I
annual
made an
event.
extra.
Yes,
one
yeah.
myself, so
All right,
thank you.
welcome.
All
Okay.
right.
We're glad to have.
Yeah,
we're glad to have
we
you.
start planning this about March.
March.
Yeah.
March every year,
Wow.
and having to really kind of move
March
things
for
along.
October, yeah, 6-month lead time.
All right.
It's intense.
And I know you guys are gonna have to leave here in a quick second, and I believe I'm gonna have Tony Barnhart coming over and talking a little bit more about a
Where is
customer's perspective. I saw him walk by and then he
Okay.
walked back, but before I let you guys go, what are attendees gonna get out of today's agenda before we let you go?
Today, we have a
Please
strong
go
focus
ahead.
on renewables and how do, we have this discussion, this goal, across America, 2050, right?
Yeah, right. So
So-
ESG transition that we've been talking
Big
about for
transition.
10 years,
So-
but it's here. It's here.
Yeah,
It's here.
Yep. So I think, we've all done a good job of saying, okay, we need to make a change. But I don't think we've really ever, again, as an industry, we haven't really broken that down into how do you actually make this happen? It doesn't happen overnight. There's a lot of things that need to happen along the way.
Absolutely.
What is Nuke's role in that whole situation?
Mhm.
How do you take this, the Fortune 500 are fine because shareholders are directing them to make a move, so they're directed to be socially responsible. But what about the small mom and pop guy, right? He's all about fiscal responsibility.
Right.
He doesn't give a rat's patootie about the social side. So how do you bring that together to get us, again, at that goal of 2050?
It's interesting too, because the commodity transaction itself is so difficult, right?
Mhm.
It is so difficult to get a transaction done in commodity. So let alone when you're talking about doing commodity plus renewables, plus efficiency, plus whatever else
Right.
it is, right? So,
Right.
and that's kind of where, shameless plug here, that's kind of our focus is like, how do you make that the transaction itself easier on the commodity side? And then how easy would it be to layer on these other things? Now, there's different pushes, right? We have to, all boats have to be kind of moving in that
Oh, yeah.
direction at the same time
Yeah, always, yeah.
to do this transition. But would you agree that we, as energy professionals, kind of stand at the forefront of this energy transition? Because we're the ones talking to the end use customers.
Absolutely.
Nobody else is. And this is something that I try to tell my audiences about, and the audiences that attend the Enerex events, is that we literally sit at the front of the line in terms of energy. And then, but this story is being written not within our industry,
No.
right?
No.
It's being written outside of our industry.
Right.
And if we don't move the needle in the next couple of years, I don't know.
Well,
that we're gonna-
again, that's just
Yeah.
how it always works in this industry. It's always written by somebody else. Rules are written by somebody else. Nobody, in my opinion, that's actually in it, right?
Yep.
And again, that's why the EPO was formed. We want to make sure that we are, I don't want to say in
Yeah.
control, but we certainly are having conversations, right?
I love
And
that.
so today, again, it's about, we need to try to figure out how we take this to 2050.
Yeah.
And we look at all different facets. We look at the high level, all the way down to the local level.
Yep.
So, again, we're here in Ohio, but we cover a whole lot more.
That's a camera right there, by the way, Michael, just so you know. So we're live streaming this.
You're-
It's okay, Michael, no worries, brother. I didn't want to let you know, sorry.
Say hey to
I
everybody,
know,
man.
say hi to the audience, yeah.
Hi,
absolutely.
guys. How we doing?
There you go.
Are we doing it for here?
No, not yet, not yet.
Open the doors.
That's so funny. Well, first off, thank you guys so much. I really
Yeah,
do
of course.
appreciate you doing this for us. And, obviously the moral of the story, audience, is get involved, have a voice, come talk to Kevin, get involved with the legislature. And yeah, we'll be fine as an industry.
Every
if we're
fall,
going.
come to Columbus.
Yeah, and come to Columbus.
It's a great event.
The last 5 minutes, I hope the audience sticks around. We're gonna do a quick couple of questions here with Tony Barnhart from Enerex, just a customer's perspective of why they attend EPO,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of the folks on the line are customers, right? Brokers as well. That would be
That's right.
constituents. And then I'll end by kind of walking into the room with the camera and just showing how actual professional it is.
I'm gonna go in
Absolutely.
and make sure that door's
Yeah,
open.
please do. That would be awesome. That I can go right in here. It's okay. You can go walk through. It's no worries.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cool.
Thank you. Hey,
JB,
gentlemen.
thanks, man.
This is awesome.
Yeah, love it.
guys
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
It's been
doing a great job.
Cheers, man. Thank
Love
you so
it.
much.
See you on the inside.
Yeah, absolutely. So quick perspective here from a customer. Tony, can I invite you? Tony, they're doing a little bit of handshakes here.
All right.
Tony.
Moment in the spotlight.
Yeah, man.
You got an easy job.
Interconnecting now. Tony, thanks so much for joining, man. I appreciate you, brother. How's everything going?
Good.
Good. We wanted to bring you in a little bit just to get a little bit of perspective for the audience from a customer, right? Interconnect has been going to Energy Professionals of Ohio for how long now?
How long has EPO been in existence?
Right.
I think we've been there, from day one.
Like 2009, right?
Yeah.
It's been such a staple in this market. Please just talk loud too, by the way. It's a little mic issue. So yeah, a couple of, please, if you had any questions, though?
Well, two of the partners at Enerex, right, are based in Ohio,
Yes.
right? You and
Yes.
Eric.
You and Eric Niemeyer?
myself, we're based here in Central Ohio, so it's a natural, and we're big supporters of what Greg and Kevin are doing here. It means a lot. Yeah, it means a lot to have a common voice
Right.
for our industry. Particularly, we're supporters of TIPA, and we like what those folks do too.
Absolutely.
I think EPO is really focused on Ohio. Having a common voice at the state legislature, from the regulatory front, Kevin, and with a lot of great time and effort, and others have really created a role for us and a voice that we're meeting with legislators. And I feel like having some success of it's getting their ear and listening to how it may impact us.
It's so important. It's such a common theme that just came up in the last 45 minutes. You're talking about the story. You have to have a voice. If you don't have a voice, and it's the size of the voice, right? If it's 2 people versus 50 people, that voice is going to be huge so differently, right? You're talking about legislation.
Right. I mean, in Texas, you have team on the supplier side. You also have the larger supplier group, and then they have the national supplier organizations that kind of form
NEMA,
together.
RISA,
Yeah,
there have
exactly.
been others. There used to have a compete coalition, and there have been others right around at the national level.
That's right, and same thing, regulatory legislative efforts. What I do like about EPO, it's solely focused on Ohio. And if you have a large presence in Ohio, you definitely need to be a part of the group, at least to be, not only part of that groundswell that common voice.
Right.
The laser beam versus the shotgun, right? So like a focused beam of energy does one thing really, really deeply.
I think I know the answer to this question now, but the question I do have for you is, what advice do you have for the other retail energy brokers that are listening to this webcast and that who do business in Ohio? What would you advise them to do?
Yeah, it's simple.
Join, come to the annual event, get a voice. Yeah.
Like I said, Greg, Kevin, they do a great job. They're getting us a presence in front of the right people. As broker consultants, we may not have the deeper pockets or the funding that maybe some of the larger suppliers may have. And, suppliers and consultants may have be aligned from time to time, but maybe not. And so you want to make sure that all of your views are out there. And EPO does a pretty good job.
So true, so true. We talked about this idea of like David versus Goliath.
Yes.
It's like, if you're painting that picture, it's like we as an industry need more stones, right?
Yes.
Give us more stones so that we can throw it and take down this giant, right? That is this regulatory force that kind of comes against us with the
Yeah, that's
utilities.
correct.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of resources that the utilities have at their disposal.
We'll do that.
We have to be a little, be a little more nimble and scratch, be a little
Scratchy, right? I mean, we're the entrepreneurs, we're the upstarts, but that's, I think, the benefit of the people that are in our industry is all these different, there's 2,300 brokers, right? Registered brokers across the country and 300 suppliers. 2,300 brokers, they're all like us, the three of us,
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, right? Females, males, everybody, different races, everybody's an entrepreneur and they have that scrappy attitude to run their business and build it up. But now we also want to, it's like we can be competitors out there, but when we come here, we need to all band together around the same common goal, which is making sure choice stays open and in different states.
Get behind the issue, right?
Yes.
Might be interesting for you guys now with the parent company that is a utility that, I was thinking a lot of market dynamics love to vilify utilities, but clearly SJI Pro Markets with the move to partner with you guys, over the last few years. So
That's right.
I think that's a fair story to tell that, they're pro market utilities as well.
Right,
Yeah.
the vertically integrated utility holding
Sure.
company have utilities in New Jersey. But the unregulated side is fairly robust for them, and they
Yeah.
see and are big fans of competitive markets.
Yeah.
That's always good.
So true. So a little bit of a transition here to, and Joe, if you don't mind, come to the next slide here. We're going to be wrapping up. As you can see, a lot of people coming out to the event today, starting to come in. So really do appreciate everybody who has joined. Is there any questions in the Q&A that I'm missing? Joe? No, I think we're good. Can you?
Yes, sir. There's one. How many legislators are in attendance at the conference today? From Marianne McGowan.
Oh, Marianne, thanks so much for chiming in there. To my knowledge, there are about 3 to 4 regulators on the panel today. And hey, brother, what's going on? Good to see you. Yeah. Yeah. Hey. He's looking good there. Bill, everybody. Bill, everybody. So anyway, as we wrap up here, I'm transitioning to Missouri here. Joe, if you can bring up that slide. And Marianne, feel free to reach out to me personally, and I will be able to make sure that you can see get a link to the registration, the agenda. Thank you, the agenda for today, and this way you can know who the regulators are that are actually
with the presentation.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that as a follow up and working with EFO there. So we're going to be doing probably the first time you're hearing this, so is my audience. In 2 weeks, we're going to be doing a special webinar with folks, 2 individuals, a broker who does business in all states, but specifically in Missouri, as well as a regulator, like a lobbyist, like Kevin is, who's trying to bring choice to Missouri, right? A brand new state, right? And I've talked to these people and like Ameren, right? And listen, Illinois has choice, right? So this might be a real opportunity, guys. I really do feel, as I've talked to this group, they're very scrappy in nature. They're doing it on a shoestring budget, so you know that they're passionate, right? Not like they're raising millions and millions of dollars and sitting and going on private jets. And no, this is thousands of dollars. Grassroots. Thousands of dollars will make a difference. And if you can't do that, at least make sure your customers are emailing, right, the legislator. So please tune in November 12th. We will be taking on that with the Mora. I believe it's on a Thursday, Joe, if I'm not mistaken. But we will, please scan the code and we will definitely get you guys the information. So I'll wrap up with this. I will wrap up with just thank you for everybody that has joined today. I am going to take this camera for the last 5 minutes and just kind of go in and show you guys how professional of an event. We're sitting outside, right, in a little table that was set up for us. But this is one of the most professional events. So that is how I will end here. And thank you so much for joining. We will follow up with emails and all the information. Tony, thanks so much for joining us, brother.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks so much. All right, I'll show you guys this event real quick and switch the mics and all that. Hello. Y'all want to see this? All right, we're going to see my shiny face. There you go. Now you guys can actually hear me. So you get to see my smiling face, but look how professional an event like this is. I mean, we have speakers and an incredible conference room here. And you're going to see this room start to fill up here within the next 5 to 10 minutes. It is a great event. There is some networking, but the content is just so rich from a regulatory perspective here. So if you haven't joined this event in the past, please come out next year and join us. We'd be happy to have you. All the best. Thank you guys so much for joining. Have a great rest of your day. Joe, thanks so much for helping us, jam through all of this. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.